Let's bring in former Speaker of the House, Bronwyn Bishop, and Sky News host, Steve Price. Welcome to you both. Bronwyn, what are your thoughts on what I've just said there about this disconnect between the national mood that the polls that we see pushed forward in the media that give Albanese that confidence boost he needs, compared to what the individual seat-by-seat research is showing in such a hyper-local campaign?
Well, first point, I've always been working on the likelihood of winning 13 seats for the opposition to be able to form government. The second thing is that I've been saying for some time, like you, that the polling itself has become a tool of campaigning.
Yes.
And by pushing out this view that Albanese is winning, he's so far in front, they expect to push people into accepting that and going along with it. So
true.
It's not to be believed that this is exactly the way it's all going. Those individual seats are very different. And it was famously Tip O'Neill, the former Speaker of the United States Congress, who said that all politics is local. And very much in these seats, there's local issues that are going to be relevant to the finish. So I think that Peter Dutton has got to be very forceful coming forward in these last days and push the fact that whatever Albanese has offered you is usually off in the future. What the opposition is offering is relief from the cost of living now. And the reduction in the petrol tax is first and foremost. That clicks in immediately and affects the cost of everything, absolutely everything, because this country runs on diesel. So the fact that he needs to point out what's in the wings, what they're going to give the Australian people should they get back. And I just think that everything about Albanese and his campaign is fake. Even down to what has happened today, I'm pleased there's been a pause to recognise the significance.
I was going to come to that in a moment, actually,
right.
with the
Well,
Pope. Yeah.
But I just find Albanese to be so professing today that refusing to take an oath on the Bible to be sworn in as Prime Minister somehow just doesn't rest easily with me.
And the attacks on
Tony Abbott, absolutely,
calling him a mad Mike,
yes,
all this rejection of religion.
Yes, and suddenly
today,
it's vital. But to me, it's important for other reasons, which we'll discuss when we get to the point.
Exactly in a moment, the political reasons behind him doing that. Steve, I want to get your thoughts on what I've had to say about the state of play at the moment. I mean, one of the main seats where the coalition is really looking to pick up what were very safe Labor seats is Victoria. Do you see this mood, this rejection of the Prime Minister continuing in your state?
It was really interesting what you said at the beginning of the program, because what I picked up today, and you made the point that the Liberal Party had held back a lot of their campaign funding, and now they're going to let it loose in the last week and a half. Listening to 3AW, the main talkback radio station in Melbourne today, in every ad break from around about 7 in the morning until around midday, there was a Peter Dutton voiced ad talking about what he was going to offer Victorians. Now, 3AW is slightly less conservative than my old station 2GB in Sydney, and it's got a massive audience. Their breakfast show rates 20%, their morning show rates 14 or 15%, and their audience, and I know because I used to run the joint, it's all spread through the outer ring suburbs of Melbourne where all those seats you just mentioned are, and they're now hammering the positive messages from Peter Dutton on that radio station. They would have spent tens of thousands, if not over $100,000 in one day, and that's going to happen over and over and over again. And I think Victoria is still a place to keep your eye on, and Bronwyn talks about 13 seats, and so do you. There could be 8, 9, 10 seats in Victoria alone, if you believe what you're hearing on the ground. And as you said, voting started today.
If that's true, Steve, if the swing really is on in Victoria, then pushes the size of Dutton's win up much more, because he's going to pick up a few in New South Wales. I mean, New South Wales is getting more difficult, but he's going to pick up a few in New South Wales, potentially one in a couple of other states. So if it is that big in Victoria, then he's in a position to form minority government. He'd be
the
clearly ahead.
The Labor brand here is so toxic, and I've said it to you before, but it happened again last weekend, where we find out that during COVID, Daniel Andrews, the Premier, was telling us he was taking medical advice. There's now documents that show that he was the one who decided to have a curfew where no one could go out of their house after 9 o'clock at night and couldn't go out before 5 o'clock in the morning. That was a decision taken by a Labor politician. The only Labor politician still in power who was in the cabinet that made that decision is the current Premier. So the people of Victoria don't like Labor, and they're not saying, oh, well, Anthony Albanese is different to what Dan Andrews and Jacinta Allen are like. They are saying, do we really want this mob to be in charge of us again?
That is such a scandal, that big exclusive revealed by the Herald Sun, that, you know, instead of getting health advice, he got advice from pollsters, literally pollsters.
Yep.
You know, there are young, I don't know, children, but teenagers who committed suicide. Their mental health issues were so bad, Bronwyn, during the COVID lockdowns, as a result of the decisions Daniel Andrews took for his own popularity against health advice.
Absolutely. And we all really thought that that's what was going on at the time, I have to say. But to now to have the proof of it, well, no wonder you've got builders who won't build a house for him, or other people who won't let him associate with people. I just feel that Victoria was served so badly under Labor that feeling's still there. It does remind me a bit of 1990 when Andrew Peacock won 9 seats in Victoria. It was New South Wales that let him down in not winning that election. And New South Wales this time won't be letting the coalition down.
No, there's still plenty of seats, or not as many, of course, but still plenty to pick up in New South Wales. Steve, I want to get your reaction, you know, returning to the Pope's passing, what I spoke about with Bronwyn. The Prime Minister today said there'll be a pause in campaigning, a pause in the hostilities. You know, he suddenly cares about Catholicism when he's mocked it in the past. The hypocrisy here.
Well, as Bronwyn said, he refused to take the oath on the Bible when he was sworn in as Prime Minister. If you go back and look at the history of Anthony Albanese and his relationship with religion, I'm not sure you're going to find a very staunch Catholic. I mean, he mocked Tony Abbott, he called him the mad monk. I mean, to suddenly decide that the death of the Pope means that you're suddenly yourself a staunch Catholic. Look, maybe Anthony Albanese's had a late life conversion to religion, but if you'd asked me a question 2 weeks ago, whether I thought Anthony Albanese was particularly religious, I would have said no.
Yeah, he's never said that he is religious, Bronwyn, but this would have been politically advantageous for him, as you were about to say before. 1 in 5 Australians are Catholic, and it would have given him more time to prepare for the debate tonight. And of course, he doesn't want there to be any campaigning days because that works in Dutton's advantage.
It also gave him good pictures. But on that question of the pausing of the campaign, I approve of that because this is a country where the dominant religion is Christian.
Yes.
This country was founded on Christian values and principles. And I think it is appropriate, and I'm saying this as a Protestant, I think it is appropriate that the marking of the Pope's passing is recognised in this way to say that this is who we are as a people and a nation. And I think that's very important.
No, I agree with you, and we gave a lot of coverage on the show last night to the Pope's passing, which happened just before we went to air, because religion is important, and he is not only an historic figure, but he was incredibly inspirational to billions of Catholics around the world and other people as well. And we're going to cross live to the Vatican in a moment, as I said.